Hey guys, welcome again to another video. My name is Stéphane Galville and I have a website called freedomacademyhq.com where I help people overcome their shyness and their social anxiety. So today, I just want to address a question that I've received, and basically, he was asking, Stéphane, how do I feel more comfortable before a presentation? Basically, he has a presentation to do tomorrow, and I just wanted to make this video to address that issue because I've dealt with that a lot and a lot of other people have dealt with that, so I'm hoping this will help. So first of all, how do you get more comfortable before you have a big presentation to do? Well, I'll be honest with you, in my experience and from what I've heard talking to other people on this subject, there's actually not a lot that you can do to feel comfortable tomorrow, okay? There's not a lot that you can do before that big presentation. If you want to feel really at ease before a presentation, there's a long-term strategy that you can use, which I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes, but none of these 10-second techniques instantly relieve your anxiety type of woo-woo stuff that you see on the internet all over the place. These things, they're not going to work, and chances are that they're going to even make you feel more nervous, because once you try those techniques, maybe you find a video on YouTube, right, and it's like instantly relieve your shyness in 10 seconds and stop feeling anxiety right now. And you know, you're gonna try that technique. I've seen many of those videos, and you're gonna try that technique and it's gonna make you feel good for 10 seconds, and then whoop, the anxiety comes back, and then you feel, not only do you feel the anxiety again, but now you feel twice as much anxiety because you're like, hey, that technique didn't work, it was supposed to work, and I bet all my chips on that technique, so now I'm still feeling anxious, so oh, this is bad, what am I gonna do now? And now you feel even more anxiety. The truth is that if you want to really feel completely at ease before a presentation, you have to take a long-term approach to this, okay? The reason why I say that is that a lot of people think that they can go through their lives just feeling anxious all the time, and then when something, you know, they can feel anxious all the time and not do anything about it, and not face their fears, and not try to learn mindfulness techniques, and then all of a sudden there's something really scary that comes up, and then they try everything to make that fear and that anxiety go away. Maybe it's like a birthday party they have to go to, or a presentation, or a wedding, or whatever it is, something social and big is about to happen, and now they try everything in the book to try and diminish that anxiety in that moment for that specific situation. But the truth is that if you go about that way, it can't work, because you're not developing the habit that you need to develop to instill a kind of method that's going to gradually diminish your anxiety, which is the only way that really works, okay? And I'm talking like weeks, months maybe, okay? That you need to instill habits that are going to reverse your anxiety in general. This idea that you can, maybe you can find techniques that can reduce the anxiety by a bit, but this idea that you can make the anxiety almost go away overnight is just preposterous. So the actual way that you become completely comfortable just before doing a presentation is simply by doing it over and over. And I talk a lot about this on my website. It's called habituation, and it's the best way that you can conquer your anxiety. It's by facing your fears over and over and over. I actually have a great example to illustrate what I'm talking about here. Let's say that tomorrow I wanted you to go bungee jumping, okay? And you can't run away from this. Tomorrow you are going bungee jumping. And let's say you're freaking the hell out. What could you do to make yourself feel better tomorrow? By tomorrow, chances are that there's not a lot that you could do. You could go try those videos that you've seen that I was just talking about, and you know, maybe they'll make you feel better for a little bit of time, but personally for me, those things have never worked, okay? Now, let's say that you wanted to feel really comfortable in front of that edge just before jumping. What would you have needed to do? Chances are that you can't do much in this situation right now because you haven't trained yourself for it. But if you were to look at what you could have done in the past couple months, there's actually a lot. And that's how you truly fix social anxiety. It's the same thing, okay? It's not that you can just go about your life and just avoid anxiety all the time, and then when a situation comes up, then you try everything in the book to try and make the anxiety go away. Because then you're setting yourself up for failure. What you want to do instead is you want to start now, today, to learn how to reverse the anxiety in your life and how to diminish it gradually by implementing habits that do that type of stuff, that diminish anxiety, so that when a situation like that does come up, you're much more comfortable in it. So let's take that bungee jumping example, okay? What could you have done in the past 6 months to feel extremely comfortable doing that bungee jumping exercise that I'm talking about? Well, you could have went bungee jumping, let's say, I don't know, 10, 20 times. You know how much more comfortable you would have been to go bungee jumping if you've done it 20 times and tomorrow you're going to bungee jump again? I mean, it would be not even near the amount of anxiety that you would feel if you've never been bungee jumping in your life, or if you've done it very scarcely, The same thing happens in a presentation. If you've never done a presentation before, if you've done some and you've done some here or there, of course you're going to be nervous in that situation because it's foreign to you. You don't do it a lot and you hate it and you avoid it at all costs. But now you're obligated to do it, and now all of a sudden you try to find a way to get that anxiety, to get rid of that anxiety. That's not how you do it. The best way to do it is to practice doing presentations as often and as frequently as you can. That way, when you have to do that presentation tomorrow, it's not a big deal anymore. This actually illustrates one of the main problems in people's approach when it comes to overcoming social anxiety. They want to believe that overcoming social anxiety is very, very different than overcoming any other type of phobia, which is, if you look at how people overcome a fear of spiders, a fear of heights, or a fear of bungee jumping, how do they do it? The main way that they use to overcome this fear is exposure, Exposure works, man. And, I've received a couple messages from people saying that I tried exposure and it doesn't work. I tried it for a couple of weeks, it doesn't work. And, that's the wrong way to look at this situation, because exposure is not something that you try, okay? Because if you just try it, then of course it's not gonna work, because when you look at exposure, it needs to be like a complete life-changing mindset that you need to implement, and you need to implement these habits into your life for the rest of your life. It's the reason why you feel social anxiety right now is probably because you're living in avoidance. You're avoiding a lot of the situations that scare you. The way that you overcome these fears is by facing those fears, And I know that in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to do that, I would also want, like a couple of years back when I was in the midst of my social anxiety, I didn't want to listen to a video on YouTube of a guy making a stupid video about saying you need to face your fears to overcome your social anxiety. I didn't want to listen to that, okay? I didn't want to believe that. I wanted to believe that there was a way that I could just have this magic pill and my anxiety would just go away. But I've learned the hard way that doesn't work. The actual way that you overcome social anxiety, if you want the fastest, most efficient, most straightforward way to overcome your social anxiety, it's exposure. It's by habituation. It's by facing those situations that you're afraid of over and over and over, and I promise you, your fear is going to go down, but it's not something you try for a couple of weeks. It needs to be in the long term, okay? The results of you facing your fears often comes after, like a couple months after. And, I can attest to that, because just a couple of years ago, I was trying every technique in the book, anything that I could find that was not exactly exposure. Anything that was not exposure, that you tell me a technique that you mean I don't need to face my fears, give it to me. I'm gonna try it. And guess what? None of those work, man. Okay? If you want to overcome your fear of doing a presentation, you need to do presentations. It's that simple. But the reason why people try all these different techniques is because they don't want to listen to that, because that's hard. That's the hard thing to do. But the hard thing to do is the best thing to do. So what are some of the things that you could do to start feeling more comfortable doing presentations? Well, there's a lot of things. Join a Toastmasters club. This is like a no-brainer. The Toastmasters club, if you don't know what it is, it's exactly for people that are trying to become comfortable in front of giving speeches in front of other people, or to improve their speeches. That's one thing. Do improv. Okay, the whole reason why I did improv and why I think it's a no-brainer for anybody that's suffering from social anxiety is that the whole reason why you do improv is to be able to be silly in front of other people and not care as much about what you're saying or how other people view you. You could do meetup groups, you could do theater, anything that puts you in front of a crowd, do that, and your presentation skills and your comfort in front of being around other people is going to increase, you know. But this also illustrates one of the reasons why most people don't want to listen to this type of advice, because, you know, there's a kind of a little paradox here that happens, whereas you want to feel more comfortable giving presentations, but in order to do so, you're going to have to feel a lot of anxiety in the meantime, you know, because you're going to have to push your fear, and when you face one of your fears, your anxiety goes up. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why obviously a lot of people try to find other ways around exposure, which is in my mind one of the only things that works, or anything that's not exposure, right? And it's obvious because, you know, it's going to make them feel a lot of anxiety. But when your anxiety spikes up like this because you're facing one of your feared situations, it actually gets better over time. And the more you can do that, spike your anxiety by facing your fears, the less that spike goes up, you know. And like maybe the first time it goes crazy, you're at level 10 anxiety, maybe the second time it's at level 9, maybe third time it's a level 8, and it keeps going down. Whereas, you know, the 100th speech that you give, it's not a big deal anymore, you know. And you might feel a little bit of anxiety, but it's nowhere near if you've never given a speech before. So that was the mind shift that I wanted to share with you guys, because, you know, I just wanted to tell you that, you know, don't try to find a way to kind of maneuver around the anxiety and just continue avoiding your situations that you're afraid of. And then when it comes up, that situation comes up, then you try everything in the book to get rid of that anxiety. Instead, develop habits that are going to make you feel more comfortable around people in general. Okay? And that's the way you become comfortable giving those presentations. So guys, I'm going to stop rambling here. If you want to learn the exact 2 things that I've done to overcome my social anxiety, you can click on the first link in the description box below, and I'm going to send you a free training that shows you exactly those 2 things. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And guys, thanks a lot for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.